Hello, good night. This is U.S. immigration attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. I'm also here to talk to you about, give you updates, also give you vital information that can empower you through your immigration journey. So today I want to go ahead and just go over some of the options that can help you to fix your status here. If you've overstayed, even if you've entered the country without permission, there are ways to fix the status, and this is exactly what we do for our clients. We help them to be able to live and work here legally, and we continue to do that work and change lives. And I want to share this information with you so you can also know about those options. Now, one thing I have been thinking about is we have had some of our clients who were detained, and it's a very, very stressful situation to be in, especially over the past couple of months. Here and there, we've had issues like this. And in the case that the client was detained, it was what I have learned with it happening a few times is when there is relief. For one, being in this situation, it becomes very difficult to communicate. Uh, Detainees are just being treated like A numbers. So the sad reality is people who are detained, if they don't have someone who is on the outside fighting for them, advocating for them, it's very easy for them to get lost in the system, even if they do have the ability to find options because we're very solution oriented. I can easily see where that person has no ability to communicate. So they do get phone calls every day, but if they have no plan in place, if they don't have family members that know what to do in a situation like that, it becomes very hard to be able to fight for the ability to get out of detention and the ability to move forward. And this is just a sad reality that I want to talk to you about first and foremost. With our clients, we have been successful in advocating for them and helping them to get out because of the very simple fact that we went before the immigration judge and we let them know our client has relief here. Here is the proof. Here's the evidence that our client has relief. And this client deserves to be out in order to pursue that relief. And that has had a positive impact on our client's ability to move forward because the judge recognizes that, and in being reasonable, counsel on the opposing side does recognize that when we provide that information. So we're solution oriented here. So I don't want to scare anybody. I don't want to cause panic, but what I do want to let you know is have a plan in place, have an emergency plan in place, and then also know your options because you do have the ability to get out. In the case that something like that does happen, you do have the ability to get out, to be able to seek relief. Immigration court is, if though stressful, can be an opportunity to get the relief that you did not pursue previously. And sometimes you do get new forms of relief that come up while you're detained. So I don't want anybody to think, if anything happens, that you do make sure you have a plan in place to understand your options to be able to pursue relief. For example, one form of relief that is not available usually outside of the immigration court setting, but once you do end up in immigration court, is called withholding of removal. and not withholding of removal, sorry, cancellation of removal. And they do have that for immigrants who have been here without their papers, who have been here for 10 continuous years. In that case, you do still have to show a hardship of certain US citizen or resident relatives, immediate relatives, so spouses, parents, and children. But that is an option that is not available. Also, there are other types of options like withholding of removal and CAT. If you face serious harms going back to your country, but you don't qualify for asylum, you can then pursue CAT instead. So relief, where you get to stay here, you get permission to stay here because of the harms that you could face. So this is to just tell you here, and it's here to empower you, to just let you know. I've been observing this, that thankfully we have been able, our clients called us, let us know what's happening, or they had a family member call us, let us know what's happening, and we were able to advocate for our clients to be released through bond hearing. So through a bond hearing, and in one situation, we actually worked directly with the ICE officers. We let the ICE officer know this is the situation. The ICE officer evaluated all the documents and understood that the client in this case was not supposed to be detained. So, but you must make sure that you have a plan in place, and make sure that you have someone who can advocate and speak on your behalf and fight for you. Because I just, in some cases, we were working, actually, in most cases, we were working without immediately being able to talk to our client, because there is a delay in communication and nothing, the clients, they do have the ability to call. So don't think you're sitting there, you don't have the ability to call. It's very limited, but communication is very delayed. Immigration, they're delayed, so they take a while to add your information into the system, which can be very scary for family members. And so having a plan in place helps to get things going, even when you're not able to talk to your family member, because we've had to jump in and act without talking to our client. And then maybe right before bond hearing, we have a very limited time to talk to our client. But most of it is working with the family members, getting the documents together very quickly. That's essential, right? Now, keep in mind, you must ask to talk to your attorney. And in some cases, you have that attorney's number. That attorney should be the first person that you probably call, right? Because that attorney can jump in and start to act on your behalf. They can understand what documents do you have in your hand. Do you have a notice to appear? Are they putting you through expedited removal, which that's an emergency? The attorney may need to file emergency documents. So the first call should be to your attorney. If you don't have an attorney, make sure you have your family members have a number, or they have numbers that they can call to contact the attorney and get an attorney on it very quickly. Because though there is a delay in communication, unfortunately, the officers are looking at what's the fastest way to get you on track for removal. So, and the whole thing is, how can you stop that from happening, right? If you're in a situation where you are detained, and they start to insinuate that you're going to be going through expedited removal, you need to make sure you express that you have been in the country for more than 2 years. So expedited removal should not apply to you. And then the other thing is, you need to, and that's why it's important to gather those documents. And then the other thing is to clearly state that if you have a fear of going back to your country because you're going to be harmed, you need to clearly state that. Okay, and then you need to talk to your attorney, right? Do not sign anything because you could actually be signing permission to put you on a plane and send you out of the country. So do not sign anything. Do not talk. Don't have extensive conversations. Don't answer any questions without first talking to your attorney, right? But that's one of the sad realities of the situation is many people are being detained who do probably have options, but they don't even know those options because once they get locked up, the communication becomes very limited, and it becomes hard to fight. There's so many obstacles. So many obstacles to fight as in a situation like that. And where we have been successful, we've worked with the families, gathered the family has been able to give us the documents we need in order to get a head start. So keep that in mind. Now, but another reason why this live is important is because I want to focus on options that are available before something like that happens. Because that's very stressful. Immigration on a whole is very stressful. Routine applications, applications that we believed, that many people believed you would just get on a whim, now are no longer simple, like marriage-based cases, right? The way they term it is marrying a US citizen no longer guarantees the green card. That has always been the case, but now it's going to be a lot worse. So here's the deal. You've overstayed your visa, or you've even entered the country without permission. You have been told that the only way to get your papers by some attorneys is by marrying a US citizen. But even that is going to be make sure you're on top of that. Now, what we do is we focus on solutions based on your particular circumstances. And a lot of people don't realize they have these options because they're not fully aware of the requirements and the options, right? And what the requirements of those options are. Some people believe that they need to have extensive forms of evidence that they don't have under the circumstances, and that stops them from going forward. For example, here are the options that I can think of. So we have VAWA. Now, VAWA, a lot of people think about VAWA in the context of a marriage, but it doesn't have to be a marriage. If you're here, you are the parent of a US citizen, or you are the son or daughter of a US citizen or permanent resident, and that citizen or resident mistreated you, you can qualify to apply for VAWA. Now, the parent-child relationship, or we're always going to think of our kids as children, even when they're grown. But that relationship, it's complicated, right? Because for example, a lot of parents don't want to apply for this, thinking it's going to get their US citizen child in trouble. But I want to let you know that this is not a process that's there to investigate the person, right? It's not there to call law enforcement on the individual. Immigration does not get involved in that. They barely have time, 15 minutes to look over an application, much less now start to get law enforcement involved in a VAWA. The VAWA is there for your relief. If you are being mistreated, keep in mind you could be mistreated verbally, mentally, physically, but it's not required for you to be physically assaulted to apply for VAWA. Emotionally, financially, even, you could qualify for this. So if you are in a parent-child situation, your parent, for example, is not applying for you, they're holding it over your head, you can qualify for VAWA. If you're a parent of a US citizen child who's age 21 or older, they also are mistreating you. And mistreating could be as a scenario where if your adult child has mental health issues that cause them to turn on you, they have substance abuse issues that cause them to turn on you, those do count. Any forms of mistreatment you're experiencing, that's where I urge you to give us a call, talk to us about your situation. Know it's confidential, and talking to us is the first step, and it's confidential. The other option that we often screen for is the T visa. Now, no, let me go back to VAWA for a minute, tell you what the benefits are if you don't already know. If you've been with me all this time, you know what I'm gonna say already. But the VAWA, what it does is it empowers you to go through the process by yourself in a confidential process where you don't have to be within the control of that relative who's mistreating you. They will not know. They will never be notified. It's against the law for immigration to notify them. And what we do is, in addition to making sure we're submitting a solid application for you, we also make sure that the documents are coming to us so that you're never in harm's way if any documentation were to go to your address. So it's a very secure process for you to be able to move forward to get your green card. And while you wait for your green card, throughout this process, you can get your work permit and your social security and yes, your travel document. But travel is another thing. I still urge people to get travel documents in case of anything, but actually traveling is another thing. But you get these benefits while you wait for the green card. The process does, because I know usually the next question is, well, how long does it take? Now, the process does take, the entire process from filing to green card takes about 3 years to 3.5 years. While you're in that process, you do get your work permit. And that enables you to keep going and keep working, keep moving forward with your life while you wait for the green card. I have had clients who've gotten the work permit, and over the years, they've established businesses. They've moved forward with their lives in a constructive way. They've gone to school. And by the time they're getting their green card, they're at a head start, right? Now, so oftentimes I can just see people doing the math. Well, if I apply for that, it's gonna take well 3 years to get to the green card. But if I just stick it out with this person, I can get it in maybe a year and a half. And what I've observed is when people make that decision, it's oftentimes it does not go well, because once that person is using your immigration status against you, they're holding the process over your head, they're delaying the process, promises to apply for you, they're having a good time using it to control you, but not filing those papers. In a situation like that, you're at risk, especially now. Or I have seen situations where they have snuck behind the person's back and canceled the immigration papers, sabotaging their immigration process, going to the interview, or not showing up at the interview. And had they just made the decision to move forward with the VAWA process, all of that would have been out of the picture. That person would be out of the picture. The risk of those things happening would no longer be there. So my clients can move forward in the process, knowing that they have control over their process, and the fear goes away. So VAWA is that option, guys, that if you don't trust your relative to go through the process, you can take control on your own. Now, the other thing is I want to educate you about what's called the T visa. Now, T visa is for victims of trafficking. However, if you ever reviewed the USCIS policy manual, you would see how broadly defined trafficking is. Trafficking comes in two different forms, and that's sex and labor. And then we can break that down even further. For example, in terms of labor trafficking, it's not necessarily somebody that's just, handcuffing you in a basement and forcing you to work. Or for sex trafficking, it's not just them tying you down and, forcing you to do sexual acts. I know a lot of people think about trafficking in that terms of being kidnapped, being physically beaten or forced to do something, being held captive. And of course, that does happen, and that is trafficking. But trafficking comes in other forms that some people would not even realize they are victims of trafficking. For example, there is I call this the Cinderella situation. And we have one cases like this where our clients have been, a relative, usually it's a relative convinces them to come to the United States, or they recruit them. They say, oh, come live with me. If they're here, come live with me. I'm going to file your papers. I'm going to make your life better in some way. And they don't talk about what they have in store for them. They come into their house, and then what they end up doing is saying, oh, okay, you're going to work in my house. You're going to do all the chores, take care of my kids, take care of the grandkids. You're going to clean, you're going to cook for me in cases, and you never signed up for all of that. They may have started out saying, can you help me a little bit with this? And then it turns into a full force labor that you're not being paid for. You think maybe you're going to do this temporarily, and then it turns into an involuntary situation. That is what I call the Cinderella scenario. And believe it or not, that is a form of labor trafficking when you are through a lie, because when they're telling you they're going to make your life better, they're going to file the papers, right? You made the decision to go live with them based on that promise. So as a result of that, you go. Had you known what they had in store for you, you would not have gone. So that is labor trafficking by fraud, right? So it shows you, and I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but this is where I want to give you at least enough information to empower you to know that you need to go to lawyers who understand whether your situation can fall into a category where you can qualify for relief. Right. So make sure that you are, I'm pretty sure if you're new here, you haven't heard me talk, you never thought about that. And you've probably talked to other attorneys that never ask you questions. And these are the types of questions we ask. We ask questions to determine what the best option is going forward. The T visa is often an option. And in some cases, the very reason somebody's in the United States is because of a false promise, right? And now they're stuck. They've overstayed a visa, and now they're stuck here. If you came into the country even without permission, keep in mind that we have also one T visas for individuals like this. There is forgiveness for this, and you can still move forward. The thing about the T visa also is if you're here, you have your relative here with you, a spouse, even if they're outside of the US, they will also process the visa for your relative, your children as well. So it is a type of relief that can provide people stability here to be able to get the relief they need and move forward. You do get a work permit while you wait, and I would say it takes about 8 months after filing to get the work permit, and the processing times now is over 18 months. So you'd get the work permit while you wait at around the 8 month mark, or a little more over 8 months. And then upon approval of the T visa, you'd be able to get your work permit. And here's the cherry on top. You do have a path to permanent residence. Your relatives plus you, after 3 years or earlier in some cases, can then move forward to get the green card. Here's another very, very important addition to the T visa is they do issue bona fide determinations, and that actually puts a stay on any removal proceedings. That means it puts a hold on any removal proceedings. So as you can see, that helps people who are possibly being detained or in danger of being detained. It helps an ICE officer determine that, okay, they cannot move forward with removal. So the T visa is a form of relief that is valuable, and it does apply to those who have their papers here, but who don't have their papers here. What is important is, what did you go through? Leave it up to the attorney. That's exactly what we do. Leave it up to us. Talk to us. Let's evaluate whether you can qualify here. Now, in addition to that, we have the U visa for victims of crime. If you've ever been the victim of domestic violence in the past, keep in mind there's no time limit. If these things happened to you 30 years ago, it's time to give us a call, because there's no time limit here. Now, in the U visa, same thing. Have you been the victim of a crime, and was it reported to police? Even if it wasn't, we want to talk to you, because we may be able to work with law enforcement to report what you went through. And we do talk to you about what to expect. Not every situation is going to, I know a lot of people right now are afraid of law enforcement. And that's another benefit here at the law firm is we speak on behalf of our clients. We advocate for our clients, but we mostly keep our clients insulated while we're going through the process. So our clients can always make a decision if they don't feel comfortable. If they have additional questions, they can ask us as they're going through the process. So if any crimes, you've been the victim of any crimes that you reported, it's time to give us a call. There are certain qualifying crimes, but if the crime affected you emotionally as well as physically, one or the other, you may qualify for this relief. Now, the U visa, if you know anything about the U visa, you've probably heard that it takes 10 years to get the U visa. But the valuable aspect of this is that they do issue also bona fide letters and a work permit that you can continue to renew until they consider your U visa. For example, the latest approval we got for the bona fide and deferred action, our client has a 4-year work permit that's going to be renewable until they can finalize the decision on the U visa. It's same as T. Your relatives can also get this as well. So spouses, children, in some cases, parents and siblings in some cases. So not only can you get that protection, but some of your family can as well. Now, asylum is another one. If you've been here for less than a year, you need to jump on it ASAP. If you've been here for over a year, we still want to talk to you. We still evaluate for that because you may still qualify for it just based on the circumstances. And you've heard me, glowing about this all the past 3 weeks or so. We just got the latest approval. We've gotten a number of work permits for our clients who are applying for asylum. So it's worth exploring. If you're afraid of moving to your country, because you have been threatened specifically, it's time to evaluate whether asylum could be it for you. Now, asylum is not for people that say, "Oh, I'm afraid of the crime. The rate has gone really bad in my country." Asylum is not for that purpose. However, if you were specifically threatened in your country, for any reason, we want to talk to you to determine whether you can get protection through asylum. And asylum, while asylum can range anywhere from a few months, which we saw with our client who got it in less than 3 months. Um, Asylum can vary, can even go to years, but in the meantime, you do get your work permit. I do suggest, though, that you jump on it because they are looking at changing policies regarding work permits. So you want to make sure you're on top of that. All right, so those are some of the options, but here is the other thing is we also look at if you're in a situation where you have situations in your background. So say um, you have an arrest or you have misrepresentation in your background. You qualify for adjustment of status, but you don't know how that's going to affect you. Clearly, you may be inadmissible. There are ways to get forgiveness. In addition to that, if you're facing extreme situations like health issues, life and death situations in this country, we have succeeded on getting deferred action. Yes, even under this administration, we've had approvals for deferred action. While it doesn't mean you get an official status, they do draft a deferred action letter that gives you the ability to be protected from deportation as you continue to pursue the solutions like your health condition treatment. So, guys, there are options out there. There are options, even if you're going through the green card process, but you've hit a roadblock. It's time to talk to us about your situation, so we can evaluate what the best option is going forward. If you've been told no by an attorney, but they didn't ask these detailed questions, it's time to give us a call and give it a second try with the more detail that we can ask. All right, so I think I have talked enough. I'm going to go ahead and answer questions very quickly. So put your questions in the comments and I will answer. So I see a ton of questions coming in on TikTok, so I'll answer there first. Tell us about physical presence for filing a CRBA. I have 2.6 years of physical presence instead of 5. So I am blanking out on the CREA. Yeah, I'm blanking out on that one. I'll get back to you on it. I received a biometrics waiver for T visa. How long to get BFD? I would say 2 to 3 months after the biometrics is done. Adjustment of status for parents. Can I show my assets with low income tax return? Yes. Assets can be used, savings, retirement, if you have equity in your home, those can count as well. Anything valuable that you have, you just have to show proof of the value. How can I travel with LPR and I have Somali passport? You'd use your card. So you have your green card. You have to have your valid current green card to travel with your passport. How much is consultation? $150. Our office is open 24 hours. You can call right now and get in. Our schedules are filling up, so be sure that you are scheduling now if you want to know your options going forward and empower yourself through the process. Now is the time. Um, um, put your questions in the comments. You want to ask questions? I'm here to answer, so put it in. It's been 140 days and I haven't received my EAD. It depends on the case type, but work permits can take up to a year in some cases. It just depends on the case type. If it's family or marriage based, you're looking at 3 to 6 months. If it's VAWA, you're looking at 6 to 12 months. If it's T visa, you're looking at 8 or more months. So it just depends on case type. Asylum, I have found that to be the fastest, and we've seen exactly 30 days after we've applied, we've gotten it. Actually, we got one, we applied, we got it within 12 days. So asylum is the one that I'm noticing. Those come through a little faster because regulations say that the work permit should be issued in 6 months. Phone number it should be in the title of this. And if you scroll to the top, you'll see the phone number there. You'll also see the phone number all over my videos. So go ahead and give us a call now. They give me 10-year ban. And then after I missed the plane, they gave me 5 years again. Oh, wow. Want to know which one. So yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. It sounds like you were at the airport, they turned you around. So we'd have to talk to you because we have to know why as well. We have to look at your facts and determine why they would do that. What should I do if my dad was detained, but we don't know which facility he's in? How do we find him? So you're going to have to go to the ICE locator. The ICE locator, sometimes they take a while to enter the information, especially if they were detained on a weekend. But enter their information there. You can enter name, date of birth, country of birth, and they may show up there. Or if you know his A number, his A number. And then make sure you can get assistance for your father, legal assistance, because your father may have options to go out, to be released on bond, and may have permanent relief or more long-term relief to stop deportation. But start with what's called the ICE locator. It's on the ICE website. It's the official. So, it's going to end in .gov, but if you Google it, it's going to be ICE locator. And then you're going to go there and enter the search to look for a detainee and then enter the information there. What should um, and I'm so sorry that that has happened. Having been deported from USA, I need to ask these questions. I'm sorry about that, but yes, you may have options coming back, and now if you're outside of the US, it's time to figure out maybe what are some options to be able to return. Uh, what should I do if I missed my first court hearing and got put in removal? So it depends on, you can go ahead and submit a motion to reopen. So, and then you'd have to provide evidence to show exactly why you missed the hearing, and they may reopen it. But that's where you're going to have to start. But this is urgent because once they have a removal order, they can pick you up and send you out of the country very quickly, unless you submit a stay of removal, an emergency stay of removal. So very urgent for you to get it reopened. What if someone has a 5-year work permit on VAWA? Does that mean that they are approved? No, they give you the work permit while you are waiting for a decision. So it's just there to help you move forward and make progress in your life while you're here, and for you to be able to work. How quick do you think an expedite I-131 for travel document gets approved? If it's an emergency, then it can be approved in about 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, if it's an emergency. And maybe even quicker if you'd have to just let them know if for example, I hope it's not anything urgent, but if you have a death in the family, you may be able to just state that, make sure you have proof of the death, like a death certificate to show them, and they may issue it very quickly. All right. So now I'm on Instagram. Hello. And then I'm going to be on Facebook and YouTube. Hi there, Annex. Hi, Summer. It's nice to see you. All right. I have court this month and I'm afraid, of course. Get legal advice. I say this, we as attorneys need time to prepare. So if you know you have a court hearing, make sure you have an attorney in way in advance, months in advance, because we often need time to put together pleadings, your defenses, to your deportation. We have to fully understand your options. So it's important, and logistically as well, because we do represent clients all over the country. And so logistically, we want to make sure that we can attend those hearings. And so we have to plan ahead. So, I understand. I'm going to give you a little lowdown on what these hearings are like, so that it's best to have an attorney. And I know there's a lot happening too with past detentions going on in court, in immigration court. So that there is a lawsuit right now. So we'll see if they'll put a hold on that, enjoin them ICE from doing that. But that's also a potential risk. The thing about it is like a double-edged sword, because if you don't go to the hearing, you may face removal. And that's a lot worse, because once you have a removal order, they can pick you up and send you out. And if they're doing a notice to appear, they know where you live, so they can just pick you up. If you do go, you do face, based on what the patterns of what was happening, you could potentially face detention. It just depends on your facts. They are mainly targeting people who, for example, people on parole, people who have had asylum, who've applied in the last 2 years. They want to send them out through expedited removal. And so they would work with the judge to dismiss. If they move to dismiss, then that's definitely a red flag here. If you see a motion to dismiss on the ICE's side, a motion to dismiss, then that's the pattern that they're following. That's the first step in that strategy. Once the judge dismisses the case, they move in and detain. So when you go to that hearing, it's the first hearing. It's called a master calendar hearing, and it's a very, very short hearing. Most of it is spent waiting. If you have a virtual hearing, that can go very quickly. We've seen it go 9 a.m. it starts, by 9:05 it's finished. So virtual, if you do have a virtual appearance, some judges do virtual appearances, then it's going to be very short. And usually the judge is going to go through the notice to appear and ask you to answer to the charges in the document. Is it admitted or denied? And so you'd have to go through each. Is usually like, up to 6 charges, and you just go through and state whether it's admitted or denied, and then state your defenses to deportation. That's the first one. Then the judge usually sets a calendar for motions or briefing. So if, for example, you're applying for asylum, they'll schedule, go ahead and schedule on the calendar when should briefing be due, or written pleadings if they need written pleadings. And then the next hearing, which is usually the individual hearing, or they may just do a status check, like another master calendar hearing, depending on the type of relief you're applying for, to be able to just do a status check and see how they should move forward from there. So that first master calendar hearing is usually not long, but make sure that you do have an attorney. If I have court, can you help me? Give us a call. We can go through what your situation is. We do need to have, as much as you can have control over your time, we need to have advance notice so that we can jump on it and prepare sufficiently. So give us a call and let's start there. Um, if FOIA request is in complex track by USCIS, what does that mean? It's going to take longer. So, it's going to take longer than 30 days likely. I have court, so I entered that. Yes, my prima facie allows me to go to college. Yeah, and that exactly, that is one of the benefits. I did have a client who was able to also use her prima facie to go to nursing school. Yes, so that's good. And congratulations on, pursuing nursing. That's great. Can a person who gets deported and has a VAWA case pending return back in the USA? No, that VAWA is going to be processed outside of the US. Mhm. I heard they changed the way to get your citizenship now. Yes. So I went over that yesterday in a lot of detail. So what they're focusing on is good moral character. And instead of just looking at, all right, did you get arrested? If your answer is no, for the most part, if your answer is no, I didn't do these very specific things that are wrong. I did not do these acts. Then it's like, okay, you pass the good moral character test. You get to get your citizenship. Now it's more like, I would say, it's almost like, um, I would say doing a citizenship application is sort of like a very intense college admissions type of application. You're going to have to really show the officers that you deserve to have citizenship through the acts, your good acts, And when I say good acts, it doesn't mean you have to be a hero or be famous or not even necessarily do volunteer work. If you do volunteer work, that's great, but you have to show that you take care of your family, that you've been constructive in some way, maybe developing your career, working consistently, uh, getting involved in your church, getting involved in constructive type of organization. So they're looking at those positive attributes to sort of now say, are you deserving of citizenship based on the constructive things you've done? So I would say here, it shouldn't stop you from applying for citizenship, but you're definitely gonna want to get help or fully understand what you need to present to the officers in order for them to consider the positive attributes that you bring. And most of us, are living, we're working, trying to survive, take care of our families. And I would say that that's good enough, but you do have to present it to the officer in a way that they understand that those are positive attributes, especially in this hard time. So yeah, you can go to getting the green card and go to the live from yesterday, and you'll be able to see I go into a lot of detail. I go through the policy memorandum that details what they'll now be looking for. But one red flag is even things that are non-criminal in citizenship now, can can count against you to cause a denial. For example, traffic tickets, speeding tickets, reckless driving can now result in a denial of citizenship if they, based on the totality of the circumstances, they feel like in your community, most people don't have these types of offenses, but you do. So that means that this definitely goes as a negative unless you can convince them why you have more positive attributes or that you've been rehabilitated. Maybe it's been 2 or 3 years since you've had a speeding ticket. Maybe you've done driving school, you've complied with the court on the traffic violation. Those are also things that you'd have to show to fix that situation. So I would say here that in this application, you're going to want to emphasize just the positives, even if you've just been trying to survive day to day. That's admirable. Trying to survive, staying on the straight and narrow, helping your family, that can be enough, but it's important to present it in a way that the officer can see those. How do I fix my misspelled name on my green card? I'm so sorry. That's such a pain. You have to submit an I-90 for a correction. There's no fee if it's the fault of the USCIS. If it somehow you misspelled your name on the application, then you'd have to pay the fee. But it's the I-90 that's going to help you to get the replacement. And unfortunately, it's going to take a while. It usually takes about a year and a half to get that replacement, unfortunately. Um, all right. So I am now on YouTube. Put your questions in the comments. Do you do anything for students who are illegal in the USA? So even students face certain circumstances. We have to talk to you about what have you been through? What are the circumstances that cause you to overstay? And then we'll be able to move forward there to see if there's an option. Why are EAD renewal receipt notices taking so long to be received? All receipt notices right now are taking forever. It's taking us I mean, this past 2 weeks, we've gotten so many receipt notices and we celebrate it just because that in itself is like a victory because we waited so long, 3 to 4 months for receipt notices. Hi there, Karen. Nice to see you as usual. All right. Thanks so much, everybody, for your time. I appreciate it. What if someone has a 5-year work permit on VAWA? Okay, so I answered that. Um, I should be getting ready for bed, but I can't resist these questions. Can you travel immediately after getting green card? Yes, you have your green card. Congratulations. You can travel. Just make sure that you don't have anything in your background that is a red flag. Nothing has changed in your background before you travel. Make sure you carry everything that you need, like your green card, your passport, to be able to travel. Congrats. With a pending I-130 through sibling, can you apply for work permit? No. And I would say here, having a pending I-130 through a sibling, it's taking 14 years. So you are actually, I would say individuals who are applying and don't qualify for an adjustment of status, because that's how you get the work permit, are at high risk to get a notice to appear. So if you're here in the US, you've overstayed your visa and then you filed a petition, right? The way that you're going to get that protection is by qualifying for adjustment of status. If you don't qualify, if you don't apply for adjustment of status and you have a pending I-130, that's going, and they see you've overstayed, they see you're in the US, they're gonna issue a notice to appear. So be very careful with those. And this is where I say figure out your options. Give us a call, let's talk about your options. What is that one need to do in preparation for schedule for in-person interview with the USCIS? I think I did a video about this. So on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, so you can go and I think YouTube as well. Go there, look at the video. But I say this, make sure you follow all the instructions on your letter, notification letter. Make sure you are taking your original documents with you, passport, birth certificates, marriage certificates, um, any updated evidence of the relationship. So if this is based on marriage, bring updated evidence, updated bank statements, updated lease if the both of you are now living together, any insurance documents, have together, any updated pictures you have, make sure you bring those with you. And then um, in that interview, prepare. If you go to the link in the profile, you will see, go to Linktree, you'll see I have a button there and it has sample questions for marriage-based and family-based interview. Go ahead and take that, download that. I believe you just fill out a form and then it will send you an email with the PDF document. You can take that, talk to your spouse, if it's a spouse that you're applying with, to, go over those questions with your spouse. So those are some of the ways to prepare for that interview. Um, all right, I am going to have to head. Oh, thanks again, everybody. What I say here is make sure you evaluate your options. We're living unfortunately, in a very very precarious times, uh, dark times. And unfortunately, while I do want to still remain positive, I still remain positive. I still want to empower you with information that's going to help you to understand the situation and then become solution oriented. There are solutions there. That's the approach we've been taking, and because of that we continue to change lives, because we don't just roll over and and remain defeated. We look at our options before us and how can we push forward to help our clients, change our clients' lives, and we continue to do that. That continues to be our mission. So give us a call. That's where it's going to start, to be able to evaluate your options that you may not have thought about. I will be back tomorrow. So if I didn't get to your question, save your questions, and as soon as you see me tomorrow, hop on and put your questions in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That is how you're going to see when I come on. And also, this information will get out to others that need this information to be empowered in their immigration journey. Have a great, great night, everybody. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.